You are an old lying bitch. What does it mean to be rude? I am speaking the truth, and I always speak the truth.
The courtroom lights glimmered, cameras rolling, as an unusual figure hesitated at the doorway. And walked Karen Whitmore, a 48-year-old woman adorned with sleek designer sunglasses and a spotless white cane, moving with exaggerated caution as if rehearsing a scene from a dramatic play. Every gesture, every tilt of her head screamed performance, her aim. To convince a room full of strangers, and perhaps an entire nation watching from home, that she had been robbed of her sight. What unfolded next in Judge Judy's courtroom over the next dozen minutes would not just shock viewers. It would ignite social media, restore faith in justice, and redefine the very meaning of courtroom drama. Karen's meticulously crafted act wasn't about sympathy, it was a calculated, high-stakes gamble. And for the first time on television, someone was about to pull back the curtain and reveal the raw, unvarnished truth behind her deception. But before we delve into this extraordinary expose, I want to know, where are you watching from? Drop a comment below, and if you've ever witnessed someone faking a disability for personal gain, hit that subscribe button because you're about to witness a takedown so precise, so ruthless. It will stay with you long after the cameras stop rolling. Karen had walked into that courtroom with confidence born of months of preparation. For half a year, she had been living a double life. By day, a professional woman. By evening, a master illusionist claiming sudden blindness. She had filed multiple lawsuits, collected disability payments, and honed her act until every gesture, every falter, seemed heartbreakingly authentic. Her target this time was Barbara Chen, a small business owner who had hired Karen as a bookkeeper 8 months prior. Barbara's firm, built from scratch, was thriving, but Karen's supposed sudden disability threatened to unravel it all. Karen claimed she had developed a rare degenerative eye condition, one that plunged her world into darkness seemingly overnight. Within weeks, she alleged, Barbara fired her, citing performance issues rather than the real, hidden truth. Karen's entire life had become a carefully choreographed scam. Her demand? $125,000 in damages for wrongful termination, emotional distress, and disability discrimination. Dollar signs danced behind her eyes as she strode into the courtroom, every step a piece of theater designed to manipulate empathy. Barbara, on the other hand, had been through months of turmoil. She was exhausted, weary, and determined to fight the fraudulent claims. Reports from coworkers painted a contradictory picture. Karen had been seen driving, navigating her office without assistance, and using her phone to read messages she claimed she could not see. Barbara had attempted private confrontations, only to be met with threats of further lawsuits. Legal fees mounted, stress levels soared, and when the court date arrived, Barbara had prepared for a battle she knew was rooted not in truth, but deception. Judge Judy Files had reviewed the case thoroughly. 2 days of meticulous scrutiny revealed inconsistencies, red flags, and anomalies that triggered her seasoned instincts. In her 25-year tenure on the bench, she had encountered con artists of all stripes. Fraud was her arena, manipulation her opponent. But there was something particularly aggravating about this case. Faking a disability wasn't just fraud, it was an insult to every person who lived with genuine visual impairments. For Judge Judy, Karen's audacity demanded not only exposure but a lesson the world could witness. Unbeknownst to Karen, the courtroom was already a trap. Judge Judy had done her homework. The doctor whose signature appeared on Karen's medical letters had been retired for over a year. Security footage contradicted every claim of blindness. Even social media posts Karen thought were private now stood ready to expose her. And there was one final element, a surprise witness, four-legged, trained, and about to become central in proving Karen's deception once and for all. Karen's entrance drew gasps, some from genuine curiosity, some from intrigue. She stumbled dramatically, knocking over a cup of water, sweeping her cane in wide arcs that seemed designed for maximum visibility rather than mobility. Her facial expressions were a study in crafted suffering, designed to elicit empathy from everyone who watched her. But Judge Judy, seated on her elevated bench, was calm, her eyes narrowing with precision. She had already seen the first layer of Curran's elaborate charade, and the unmasking was about to begin. Mrs. Whitmore, Judge Judy began, her voice authoritative and cutting through the hushed murmurs of the courtroom. "You're claiming that Miss Chen fired you because of your blindness? Tell me about your condition." Curran inhaled deeply, ready to deliver her rehearsed narrative. She spoke of a sudden, devastating eye disease, of a life transformed overnight, of independence stripped away, of how ordinary tasks became impossible. Her words were emotive, her gestures sweeping. The audience leaned forward. Some were genuinely moved. Curran's performance seemed flawless. Then came Barbara's turn. Her voice was steady but exhausted. "Your Honor, I did not fire Curran because of her disability," she said, presenting a folder thick with evidence. Security footage, eyewitness statements, and social media activity painted a starkly different story. Curran's movements, her activities, and her interactions contradicted every claim she had made. Curran's reaction was immediate. Indignant, defensive, her carefully curated victim persona slipping. "That footage is doctored?" she exclaimed. "Those posts were scheduled before I went blind." Her protest was theatrical, but Judge Judy was already unwrapping the first layers of her deception, eyes scanning for every inconsistency. When the medical documentation came under scrutiny, Curran's confidence began to falter. The letter she presented, supposedly from a reputable doctor, turned out to be from a practitioner long retired. Forged signatures, inconsistencies, and misrepresented medical expertise. The cracks in Curran's facade were widening. Judge Judy's courtroom had shifted. The sympathetic curiosity of the audience had become suspense-laden tension. Curran Whitmore, confident and calculating just moments ago, now sat on the precipice of exposure. The stage was set. The cameras rolled. The first chapter of her unmasking had begun, and no one would forget it. The courtroom was silent now, but the tension was electric, every eye fixed on Curran Whitmore. Her carefully staged performance, so painstakingly rehearsed, was already beginning to show cracks. Judge Judy, poised and calm on her elevated bench, didn't flinch. Every subtle gesture, every twitch in Curran's expression was catalogued with precision. The weight of years of experience guiding every movement. Curran took a deep breath, trying to steady the tremor in her hands. "Your Honor, this is harassment," she said, her voice pitched slightly higher than before, trembling in that practiced way a victim might. "I've already provided medical documentation. I'm disabled. I'm being judged unfairly." Judge Judy didn't respond immediately. Instead, she let the words hang in the air, heavy and vulnerable. Silence can be a weapon, and she wielded it like a scalpel. The audience shifted, sensing that something monumental was about to unfold. Curran's confident composure, the one she had cultivated for months, was starting to falter under the weight of scrutiny. Double quotes, Mrs. Whitmore, Judge Judy finally said, her voice cutting through the tension. "We're going to discuss your medical documents. You submitted a letter from Dr. Michael Stevens, correct?" Curran adjusted her sunglasses, masking the flicker of panic behind her eyes. "Yes, Your Honor. He's been treating me since the onset of my condition." Judge Judy's gaze sharpened. "Interesting, because I personally called Dr. Stevens' office yesterday. The office manager informed me that Dr. Stevens retired over a year ago and hasn't seen patients in over 12 months. Would you care to revise your statement?" The color drained from Curran's face. She fumbled for words. That must be another Dr. Stevens. There are many ophthalmologists with that name." Judge Judy's expression didn't change, but the cold precision in her tone could slice steel. "Mrs. Whitmore, the signature on your letter matches Dr. Stevens' retired signature exactly. A handwriting expert has verified it. This letter is a forgery. A very poor one." Curran's mouth opened and closed, searching desperately for an explanation. Her hands clenched the cane, and she shifted in her seat as if physical movement could somehow erase the damning evidence. I don't know what to say. Maybe it's a clerical error. Perhaps the office mishandled the records. Judge Judy's courtroom was no place for flimsy excuses. A clerical error does not explain months of collecting disability benefits while performing tasks that require perfect vision. It does not explain driving, reading, and engaging in activities that a genuinely blind person cannot do. Her eyes narrowed, tracking Karen's subtle hesitations, the flinch at every word. Mrs. Whitmore, let's try a simple test. Karen stiffened. She had watched countless videos online of blind individuals navigating spaces with mobility canes. She had thought she could replicate it flawlessly, but she had not accounted for Judge Judy's methodical approach. I want you to demonstrate how you use your cane to navigate from your table to the defendants, Judge Judy commanded. This is standard procedure for anyone with a visual impairment. Karen's lips pressed together. She rose slowly, extending her cane with exaggerated caution, tapping in wide arcs that were theatrical but ineffective. Her steps were deliberate, every movement designed for the cameras rather than practical navigation. The audience murmured. Some could sense the disparity between her actions and genuine technique. Judge Judy watched with the detachment of a scientist observing a failed experiment. Mrs. Whitmore, that is not how a mobility cane is used. You are holding it like a broom. Real blind individuals use a rhythmic sweeping pattern to detect obstacles before they make contact. You are performing theatrics. Karen's panic escalated. She stumbled toward the bench with dramatic uncertainty, reaching out with her hands as if the edges of tables or walls would guide her. This is humiliating, she muttered, louder than intended. Having to prove my disability to people who refuse to believe me. This is why disabled people suffer in silence rather than seeking justice. Her voice cracked with false indignation, the emotional crescendo she had perfected over weeks of practice. But Judge Judy remained unmoved. Every syllable Karen spoke was catalogued in the judge's mind, each exaggeration another nail in the coffin of her credibility. Judge Judy then shifted her focus. Let's discuss your social media activity, specifically posts from 3 weeks ago. Karen's body language shifted immediately. Her shoulders tensed, her fingers gripping the cane until her knuckles turned white. I don't use social media, she said, voice rising. It's too difficult without being able to see the screen. Judge Judy's eyes glinted. Really? Because these posts show you at a shooting range in Nevada, aiming a handgun with perfect precision. You hit bullseyes repeatedly? Explain how a completely blind person can aim and fire a gun with that level of accuracy. The courtroom was silent. Karen's brain raced. Excuses tumbled out. Hacked accounts, old photos, a mistake. None of them stuck. The evidence was indisputable. Metadata, timestamps, and geotags corroborated the story. She had been in Nevada 3 weeks ago, her actions directly contradicting her claims of total blindness. Karen's panic became visible. Her performance, once meticulous, now teetered on collapse. She began shouting, throwing out medical jargon and accusations of discrimination, but her arguments rang hollow. The audience could see the gap between reality and her constructed narrative. Judge Judy's patience was infinite, her focus surgical. Then came the final twist in this chapter, a move Karen had never anticipated. Judge Judy leaned slightly forward. Bailiff, please bring in our special guest. The courtroom door opened, and in walked Bailey, a golden retriever, professional service dog, vest gleaming. Her eyes intelligent, alert, and focused. She walked with the confident precision of a dog trained to assist individuals with visual impairments. Every step was deliberate, every movement purposeful. Karen's posture stiffened the moment Bailey entered, her hands tightening around her cane, her breathing quickening. Judge Judy addressed the court. Bailey is a certified service dog, trained to guide individuals with visual impairments. Today, she will assist Mrs. Whitmore in navigating from the plaintiff's table to my bench. This is standard protocol. Mrs. Whitmore, you may proceed. Karen's response was defensive. I don't need a dog. I can navigate with my cane. Judge Judy's expression was cold, unyielding. Consider it a demonstration of accommodations we provide. Surely you have no objection? Bailey approached calmly. Corinne's entire body betrayed her. Her head turned subtly, tracking the dog's movement before it reached her, her feet adjusting in a way no blind person can manage. She avoided the dog entirely, not relying on her cane. Every step revealed the truth she had worked so hard to hide. The audience leaned forward, sensing the tension spike to an unbearable level. Judge Judy's voice cut through the silence. "Mrs. Whitmore, how did you know Bailey was directly in your path? You adjusted your walking before your cane could detect her? That is not blind navigation." Karen stammered. I sensed her. Air, movement. Her excuses grew more desperate, less convincing. Judge Judy's eyes hardened. This was the moment the web of deception began to unravel irreparably. Karen's lies, carefully rehearsed over months, were crumbling in real time. The first layer of exposure had been laid bare. Karen Whitmore's world, built on calculated manipulation, had begun to collapse. And yet, this was only the beginning. The audience could feel it. Something far more devastating was coming. Something that would leave no doubt, no room for denial, and no possibility of escape. Asterisk, the courtroom held its collective breath as Bailey, the golden retriever, stood poised just a few feet from Karen Whitmore. The dog's training was flawless, her body language calm yet alert. She had been trained to assist those with genuine visual impairments, detecting obstacles, guiding, and providing cues that a sighted person often overlooked. And now, she would become the instrument that would shatter Karen's elaborate performance. Karen's fingers gripped the cane tighter. She straightened her posture, trying to maintain the illusion of uncertainty, but every subtle movement betrayed her panic. She had rehearsed countless scenarios, studied videos of blind individuals navigating spaces. Yet nothing in her preparation had accounted for a live demonstration with a certified service dog. Judge Judy's voice broke the tension, precise and commanding. "Mrs. Whitmore, please walk from your table to my bench, using whatever mobility technique you normally employ. Bailey will remain stationary in your path." This is a standard demonstration for anyone with visual impairments in our courtroom. Karen hesitated, her mind racing. I don't need the dog, Your Honor. I can manage with my cane. I've learned to navigate. Her words were sharp, defensive, but they only highlighted her growing anxiety. Judge Judy's gaze cut through the room like a blade. "Humor me, Mrs. Whitmore. This is merely a demonstration of accommodations. Something any visually impaired individual would understand." Bailey's handler guided her carefully to the designated spot. The dog sat obediently, perfectly aligned, a stationary figure that any blind person would detect with a properly used cane. Karen took a cautious step forward, extending her cane in the familiar sweeping motion she had practiced endlessly. Her movements were deliberate, exaggerated, and theatrical sweeps too wide, steps too hesitant. Then it happened. As Karen approached the dog, she instinctively veered around it with perfect precision. Not a single misstep, not a top of the cane on the dog, nothing. Her body moved with visual awareness, a spatial certainty that only someone with full sight could possess. The courtroom gasped. Every eye followed Corinne's subtle adjustments, every slight shift in weight, every turn of the foot that betrayed her lie. Judge Judy leaned forward slightly, her sharp eyes capturing every detail. "Mrs. Whitmore," she said, voice calm yet cutting, "how did you know Bailey was there? You adjusted your path before your cane could possibly detect her?" Karen's mouth opened, then closed, searching for an excuse. Her breathing quickened. I felt the air. I sensed her presence," she stammered. Her explanation was feeble, a thin veil over the undeniable truth her movements had revealed. Judge Judy's eyes never wavered. Air movement? In a climate-controlled courtroom? That is convenient. Bailey is trained to detect obstacles without being seen, without sound cues. You have just demonstrated perfect spatial awareness, a capability that requires sight. Karen's hands tightened around her cane as her act began to crumble further. She tried to recover, gesturing wildly, adding drama to her steps. But every exaggerated movement only highlighted her ignorance of true mobility techniques. She spun her story, throwing out accusations of unfair treatment, insisting she was being targeted as a disabled individual. But Judge Judy was unrelenting. Every word, every claim was met with silent scrutiny, the weight of reality pressing down on Corinne's performance. The audience sensed the turning point. The tension had risen to a palpable intensity. Everyone could see that Corinne's narrative was on the verge of collapse. Judge Judy remained calm, methodical, her voice precise. "Mrs. Whitmore, this demonstration is sufficient to indicate that you are not blind. But for the sake of clarity, I will conduct one final test." Corinne froze. Her breath hitched behind her designer sunglasses, the first visible sign of genuine panic. She had prepared for interviews, security footage, social media checks, but not a live, inescapable test in front of millions of viewers. Asterisk Judge Judy turned to the bailiff. "Please retrieve the tennis ball from my chambers." The command was simple, yet its implications were profound. Every eye in the courtroom followed as the bailiff brought forward a bright yellow tennis ball, held out in full view of the cameras. The fluorescent surface gleamed under the courtroom lights, a silent harbinger of what was about to unfold. Corinne's body stiffened. She clutched her cane like a lifeline, her mind racing to anticipate what Judge Judy had planned. The room was deathly silent. The only sounds, the subtle hum of the air conditioning and the faint click of cameras capturing every detail. Judy addressed Corinne directly. "Mrs. Whitmore, I am going to toss this ball toward you. A genuinely blind individual cannot catch an object in motion with precise timing. They cannot track its trajectory accurately. This is a simple, conclusive test of visual capability." Corinne's panic escalated. "Your Honor, this is unnecessary. I've already provided documentation." "You're harassing me." Judge Judy's expression did not soften. Her gaze remained locked on Corinne, unwavering. "The documentation is forged. This is not harassment, it is a test of truth. Please stand and catch the ball." The bailiff tossed the ball toward Corinne with firm but controlled force. Time seemed to slow. The ball arced perfectly through the air. Every movement of Corinne's body was precise, hands extended at exactly the right angle, fingers opening with flawless timing, eyes tracking the object despite her claims of blindness. The ball landed securely in her grasp. The courtroom erupted. Gasps, murmurs, and whispered disbelief filled the air. Barbara Chun's jaw dropped in vindication. The audience, watching from every angle, realized in that moment that Corinne's entire narrative had been a lie. The carefully constructed facade of helplessness, suffering, and disability had collapsed in a single, undeniable instant. Corinne's hands shook as she clutched the tennis ball. Her sunglasses remained on, but they could no longer hide the fear in her eyes. Her lips quivered, unable to form words. She had just provided irrefutable proof that she could see perfectly. The dam had broken, and every falsehood she had built over months came crashing down in seconds. Judge Judy's voice cut through the stunned silence, calm, cold, and merciless. "Mrs. Whitmore, please explain how a blind woman catches a ball thrown at her face with perfect coordination. How do you track its path, its speed, and its trajectory? You have just proven you possess full visual capability." Corinne's response was frantic, disjointed, a desperate attempt to salvage her collapsing performance. It was instinct. Anyone would have reacted. Judge Judy's eyes narrowed. "No, Mrs. Whitmore, blind individuals cannot intercept moving objects with precision. What you just demonstrated is visual motor coordination, a function that requires sight. Your lies have been exposed. There is no ambiguity. There is no room for doubt." The courtroom sat in stunned silence. Corinne's carefully crafted world had been shattered in the span of mere moments. And yet, the full consequences, the final reckoning, were still to come. Asterisk, the courtroom was electric with shock. Corinne Whitmore's carefully constructed world, built over months of lies and deception, had collapsed before the eyes of every person present. The tennis ball demonstration was more than a simple test. It was the hammer that shattered her illusion of blindness. Every exaggerated step, every tearful plea, every calculated gesture now appeared in stark relief as theater, not reality. Corinne stood frozen, her hands trembling as she clutched the tennis ball like a lifeline. Her sunglasses, meant to shield her eyes from scrutiny, could not mask the panic that spread across her face. Her breathing was rapid, shallow, betraying the inner chaos that threatened to overtake her. The audience, previously captivated by the drama of her alleged disability, now sat in stunned silence. Realizing they had witnessed a calculated deception unravel in real time, Judge Judy's gaze was fixed on Curran, unyielding and precise. "Mrs. Whitmore, do you have any explanation for how a completely blind individual just caught a ball thrown directly at their face with perfect accuracy?" Curran's voice quivered. It was just instinct. Anyone could have done that." Judge Judy's eyes narrowed, cutting through the desperation like a scalpel. "No, Mrs. Whitmore, blind individuals cannot track moving objects through space. They cannot coordinate their hand movements with perfect precision. What you just demonstrated is called visual motor coordination, and it requires sight. Every element of your so-called disability has been exposed." The audience murmured, a mix of gasps and whispers spreading through the room. Barbara Chun, who had endured months of stress, legal fees, and harassment, leaned forward in her chair, her expression a mixture of vindication and relief. The woman who had orchestrated this fraud had been caught red-handed, and justice, swift and unmistakable, was being served. Judge Judy reached into her folder and pulled out another stack of documents, thicker than anything previously submitted. Her voice carried authority and finality as she addressed Curran. "Mrs. Whitmore, these documents detail the full scope of your fraudulent activities. You have filed multiple lawsuits against several former employers, all claiming sudden blindness. You have collected disability payments intended for genuinely disabled individuals. You have used a handicap placard fraudulently. You have submitted forged medical documentation. Your actions are criminal, not civil. Your lies have caused financial and emotional harm to innocent people." Karen's hands shook violently. Tears streamed down her face, but these were no longer the controlled, performative tears she had used to manipulate others. These were real tears of fear, humiliation, and despair. Her carefully rehearsed narrative had been dismantled in minutes, leaving nothing but raw exposure. Judge Judy continued, her tone unwavering. "Mrs. Whitmore, the total amount you have fraudulently obtained is approximately $87,000. This is theft, forgery, and conspiracy. You will face criminal charges for every aspect of your deceit. And let this courtroom and the millions watching be clear, there is no place for individuals who mock real disabilities for personal gain." Karen tried to speak, to salvage her crumbling performance. "Your Honor, please. I made a mistake. I was desperate." Judge Judy's expression hardened. Desperate does not excuse fraud. Desperation does not justify stealing from those who truly need assistance. You have not only violated the law, Mrs. Whitmore, but you have insulted every individual who genuinely struggles with visual impairment. Your deception ends here. Asterisk. The bailiff moved forward, guiding Bailey, the golden retriever, calmly out of the courtroom. The dog had completed her role flawlessly, exposing Curran in a way that no human testimony or document could have achieved. The audience erupted in a mix of applause and stunned murmurs. Recognizing the sheer ingenuity of Judge Judy's methodical approach, Barbara Chun stood, holding her folder tightly, a mix of relief and vindication in her eyes. "Your Honor," she said, her voice steady but emotional, "thank you for seeing the truth. This woman's lies cost me months of stress and thousands of dollars. I just want justice for what she's done." Judge Judy nodded. "And justice will be served. Mrs. Whitmore, judgment is entered in favor of the defendant. You are ordered to pay $5,000 in legal fees, in addition to facing criminal proceedings for fraud, forgery, and perjury. Let this serve as a warning. Deception may work in private, but in a courtroom under scrutiny, lies are revealed in full." Karen sank into her chair, defeated. Her designer sunglasses no longer shielded her. Her hands trembled, her posture slumped, her entire aura radiating humiliation. The audience watched, captivated, as the once confident woman who had believed herself untouchable faced the harsh reality of exposure. Judge Judy leaned back slightly, but calm after the storm settling over the courtroom. "This is more than a case of fraud," she said, addressing the audience and cameras. "It's a lesson in accountability. People may attempt to manipulate sympathy, exploit systems, or deceive others for personal gain. But truth, evidence, and integrity will always prevail. And sometimes justice comes with unexpected methods. Even a four-legged assistant can reveal what humans attempt to hide." The cameras captured every angle of Corinne's collapse. The trembling hands, the tear-streaked face, the disbelief etched into every line. The audience, both in the courtroom and watching at home, bore witness to a masterclass in judicial precision. Every element of the scam had been exposed, every lie accounted for, and every victim vindicated. Judge Judy's final words in the courtroom were deliberate, resonant, and absolute. "Let this be a reminder. Fraud has consequences. Lies are revealed, and those who exploit the vulnerable will be held accountable. Mrs. Whitmore, may this moment serve as both justice for your victims and a warning to anyone who thinks deception can escape discovery." Corinne remained silent, too overwhelmed to speak, too exposed to attempt any further performance. Her fraudulent empire of lies had crumbled completely, and the consequences, both legal and social, were only beginning to manifest. The courtroom buzzed with a mix of shock, relief, and awe. The audience, many of whom had doubted the severity of the case at first, now understood the gravity of Corinne's actions. Social media posts, footage from multiple angles, and the viral moment of the tennis ball catch would soon spread across the internet, exposing Corinne's deception to millions. Judge Judy's verdict and the methodical unmasking of Corinne Whitmore would not only restore faith in the judicial system, but also serve as a cautionary tale. The case had set a precedent. No lie, no matter how cleverly constructed, could withstand rigorous investigation, careful observation, and undeniable evidence. The courtroom emptied slowly, the echo of Judge Judy's words lingering like a verdict carved in stone. Corinne Whitmore, once so confident, now shuffled out under the weight of her humiliation. Her designer sunglasses, once a shield of arrogance, were now useless. Every step she took was a reminder of her unraveling, each movement a testament to the consequences of deceit. Outside the courtroom, cameras and smartphones captured the aftermath. News crews quickly filed reports, while social media users posted clips from multiple angles. Within hours, the moment of Corinne catching the tennis ball, a reflex she thought could never betray her, went viral. The hashtag #FakeBlindCorinne trended worldwide, alongside hashtag Bailey the Hero and hashtag Judge Judy Justice. Millions of viewers watched, shared, and reacted, marveling at the sheer ingenuity of Judge Judy's courtroom strategy. Barbara Chun, still processing the relief of her legal vindication, became an unexpected symbol for small business owners everywhere. She spoke to reporters outside the courthouse, her voice steady but emotional. "I want to thank Judge Judy for seeing through the lies and for restoring my faith in justice. Fraud like this doesn't just harm businesses, it hurts everyone who believes in fairness and honesty. I hope this serves as a lesson to anyone thinking they can manipulate the system." Meanwhile, the legal ramifications for Corinne Whitmore escalated rapidly. Within days, the district attorney's office had filed multiple criminal charges: disability fraud, insurance fraud, perjury, and forgery. Social media clips documenting the tennis ball test and the service dog demonstration became evidence in the case. Irrefutable proof of her deception, Corinne's social media accounts were inundated with public outrage. Every post, every attempt to explain her side, was met with skepticism and ridicule. Disability advocacy groups weighed in, emphasizing that her actions were not only illegal but also a cruel mockery of individuals who truly lived with visual impairments. The hashtag spread globally, shared by millions who wanted to witness the dramatic exposure of a scammer who had believed she could fool the world. Judge Judy, meanwhile, received an outpouring of gratitude from viewers and professionals alike. Messages flooded in, thanking her for the meticulous dismantling of a fraud that had not only financial implications but moral ones. Blind individuals and disability rights advocates praised the thoroughness of her approach and the creativity of the demonstration using Bailey. the golden retriever as a truth detector. Curran's personal world was irrevocably altered. She faced criminal prosecution, mandatory restitution for the money she had fraudulently collected, and a tarnished reputation that would follow her indefinitely. Her other pending lawsuits collapsed immediately as her fraudulent history became public knowledge. Legal experts commented on the case as a textbook example of evidence-based judicial exposure, noting how technology, eyewitness accounts, and creative courtroom methods combined to reveal the truth. Bailey, the golden retriever, became an instant internet sensation. Videos of her calm, precise demonstration circulated alongside the viral clip of Curran's failed performance. Social media accounts were created in her honor, celebrating the service dog as a symbol of justice. Fans praised her intelligence, training, and role in ensuring fairness prevailed. Judge Judy herself commented in interviews that Bailey's presence highlighted how sometimes truth comes in unexpected forms: 4 legs, keen instincts, and unwavering focus. In the days following the case, Curran Whitmore entered a guilty plea to multiple counts of fraud. The sentencing reflected the severity of her deception: 3 years in prison and full restitution of the $87,000 she had collected illegally. Her mugshot circulated widely, serving as a cautionary tale in fraud prevention seminars and ethics classes across the country. Her fall from perceived sophistication to public disgrace became a story retold in media outlets, legal blogs, and social commentary. The larger lesson was clear and undeniable: deception, no matter how cunning, cannot withstand rigorous observation, evidence, and accountability. Curran had assumed she could manipulate sympathy, falsify medical conditions, and exploit systems designed to help the genuinely disabled. Yet the reality of justice, thorough, relentless, and creative, exposed her for what she truly was: a fraud who underestimated the scrutiny of an experienced judge. Barbara Chun's business thrived in the aftermath. She became an advocate for small business owners, speaking about the dangers of frivolous lawsuits and the importance of evidence-based defense. Her story inspired others who face similar challenges, demonstrating that integrity and perseverance could prevail even against manipulative opponents. Judge Judy, in a post-episode interview, reflected on the case with her trademark clarity. Fraud isn't just illegal, it's immoral. It disrespects those who truly need help and undermines trust in systems designed to protect people. This case shows that careful observation, critical thinking, and sometimes unconventional methods can reveal the truth. And sometimes justice comes with 4 legs and a tennis ball. The viral moment of Curran Whitmore's exposure became a cultural touchstone. It sparked discussions on social media, news programs, and forums about disability fraud, ethics, and accountability. People marveled at the methodical way truth had been revealed, recognizing that no lie, no matter how elaborate, could withstand evidence and ingenuity. Ultimately, Curran's story served as a powerful reminder: entitlement and deceit have consequences. Attempting to exploit the system for personal gain is not only illegal but morally reprehensible. Justice, when pursued diligently and creatively, cannot be avoided. And occasionally, justice comes with a wagging tail, a bright yellow tennis ball, and a courtroom filled with unflinching observation. The saga of Curran Whitmore, Bailey the Golden Retriever, and Judge Judy became a viral legend, a cautionary tale retold across the internet and in classrooms alike. The lessons were clear: honesty matters, manipulation fails, and those who attempt to deceive will eventually face consequences far greater than they imagined. Curran had lost everything: her credibility, her freedom, her financial security, but the world gained a story of justice, ingenuity, and the unwavering triumph of truth. And for millions of viewers who witnessed the unfolding drama, the lesson was indelible. Fraud may be tempting, but truth always finds a way to reveal itself.